February 1973. Elvis Presley is mid-rehearsal at Graceland when a tiny voice drifts through the studio door. He freezes. The band stops. That voice, high, pure, aching, belongs to his 4-year-old daughter, Lisa Marie. She's singing alone in the hallway, unaware anyone can hear. What Elvis does next will haunt musicians for 50 years. It's a cold Tuesday morning, February 6, 1973. Inside the music room at Graceland, Elvis is working through arrangements for his upcoming Aloha from Hawaii Satellite Special follow-up tour. The room smells like coffee and old wood. His band, James Burton on guitar, Ronnie Tutt on drums, Glenn Hardin on piano, sit scattered around expensive equipment. They're running through How Great Thou Art for the third time. Elvis is focused, intense. He's wearing a black turtleneck, gold sunglasses pushed up into his hair. His voice fills every corner of the room. Rich, controlled, powerful. But then he stops mid-phrase. His hand lifts. A signal. The band cuts out immediately. Silence. "Y'all hear that?" Elvis whispers. The musicians exchange confused glances. Ronnie Tutt leans forward on his drum stool. James Burton tilts his head. They hear it now too. A child's voice, singing. It's coming from somewhere beyond the studio door. Faint but clear. A little girl singing a melody they don't recognize. The voice is untrained, raw, but there's something about it. Something that makes the hair on your arms stand up. Elvis sets down his microphone. He walks toward the door like he's afraid the sound might disappear if he moves too fast. The band watches him go. Nobody speaks. The only sound now is that tiny voice, echoing through the hallway outside. Glenn Hardin will later say it felt like time stopped. What was it about that moment that froze a room full of professionals? Elvis opens the door slowly. The hallway is empty except for one small figure at the far end. Near the staircase, sitting cross-legged on the carpet. Lisa Marie, 4 years old. Brown hair falling around her face. She's holding a stuffed rabbit and singing to it like it's the only audience in the world. She doesn't see her father. She doesn't see the band members now crowding quietly behind Elvis in the doorway. She's singing Danny Boy, an old Irish folk song Elvis used to hum to her at bedtime. But she's changed some of the words, mixed them up the way children do, made them her own. Her voice cracks on the high notes. She pauses to breathe in the wrong places. But there's an aching sincerity to it, purity that can't be taught. Elvis doesn't move. He's standing in the doorway with one hand pressed against the frame, completely still. His jaw is tight. His eyes are wet. James Burton takes a half step forward and whispers, "Boss, you okay?" Elvis doesn't answer. Lisa Marie finishes her song. She hugs the stuffed rabbit tighter and starts humming a new melody, something she's making up as she goes. Her eyes are closed now. She sways gently. Priscilla appears at the top of the staircase, probably looking for her daughter. She sees Elvis and the band watching from the doorway. She freezes too, puts a finger to her lips. Don't interrupt this. For 90 seconds, nobody in that hallway breathes. Then Lisa Marie opens her eyes. She sees them all staring. Her face goes bright red. She jumps to her feet and runs toward Priscilla, embarrassed, clutching her rabbit. The spell breaks, but something has shifted in Elvis. You can see it in his face, in the way he's still standing there, motionless, even after Lisa Marie disappears upstairs. What just happened in that hallway? Elvis walks back into the studio without a word. The band follows. They sit down at their instruments, waiting for him to say something. Anything. He picks up his microphone, sets it down again, runs a hand through his hair. Finally, he turns to Glenn Hardin. "Can you write that down?" Elvis asks. "Write what down?" Glenn says, "What she was singing. The melody. The way she changed the words." Glenn blinks. "Boss, she was just... I know what she was doing." Elvis's voice is firm but not angry. "I need you to write it down, before I forget it." So Glenn sits at the piano and starts playing back what he remembers. Elvis corrects him. "No, higher there. She went higher. And she held that note longer." They spend 20 minutes reconstructing Lisa Marie's improvised melody. Ronnie Tutt watches the whole thing with his arms crossed, fascinated. "I've never seen him like this," he'll tell a reporter years later. Elvis worked with everyone. Sinatra, Johnny Cash, and Margaret. But I never saw him stop everything to chase down something his kids sang in a hallway. Finally, Glenn has it written out. A rough lead sheet with Lisa Marie's melody and her mixed-up lyrics. Elvis stares at the paper for a long time. Then he says something nobody expects. "I want to record this." The room goes quiet. "You want to record what Lisa just sang?" James Burton asks carefully. "Not exactly." Elvis is pacing now, energized. "I want to take her melody, build a real song around it, keep her voice in it somehow. Make it, I don't know, a duet? A conversation between me and her." "Boss," Ronnie says gently, "she's 4. I know how old she is." Elvis stops pacing. His voice softens. "That's the point. She won't always be 4. She won't always sing to her stuffed rabbit like nobody's listening. This moment, what we just heard, it's gone tomorrow." He looks at each of them. "I want to capture it before it disappears." The band exchanges glances. This isn't a normal session request. This is something else entirely. Something personal. Something fragile. But they nod. They'll do it. What Elvis is chasing isn't just a song. It's time itself. And time, for a father, moves cruelly fast. 3 days later, February 9th, 1973, Elvis books a private session at Stax Studios in Memphis. He doesn't tell RCA. He doesn't tell his manager, Colonel Parker. He just calls the engineer, tells him to clear the schedule, and shows up with his band and one very confused little girl. Lisa Marie is wearing a pink dress and white shoes. She's holding the same stuffed rabbit. Priscilla is there too, standing in the corner of the studio, arms folded, watching her ex-husband with a mixture of curiosity and concern. They've been divorced for 6 months. Things are still complicated. But when Elvis called and said, "I need Lisa for a session," Priscilla didn't argue. She knew that tone in his voice. Elvis kneels down in front of his daughter. "Baby," he says softly, "remember that song you were singing the other day? With the rabbit?" Lisa Marie nods, shy. "Can you sing it again? For Daddy?" She shakes her head. "I don't remember it." Elvis smiles. "That's okay. I remember it. How about this? I'll sing it first and you just sing along with me, like we're singing together. Can you do that?" Lisa Marie thinks about it, then nods. The engineer sets up 2 microphones, one at Elvis's height, one lower down for Lisa Marie. They stand facing each other. Elvis takes her small hand in his. "We're just gonna have fun, okay?" he says. "Just you and me." The tape starts rolling. Elvis begins singing the melody Glenn transcribed, the one Lisa Marie had improvised. He's turned it into something fuller now, with real lyrics he wrote the night before. It's a lullaby, promise, prayer. The first verse is all Elvis. His voice is tender, almost fragile. He's singing about a father watching his daughter grow, about moments that slip through your fingers, about love that doesn't know how to stay still. Then he nods to Lisa Marie. She starts singing, hesitant at first, then stronger. Her voice is tiny next to his, but it fits. It weaves in and out of his melody like a conversation. Sometimes she forgets the words. Sometimes she makes up new ones. Elvis doesn't correct her. He follows her lead, adapting his phrasing to match hers. They sing for 4 minutes. When it's over, the studio is silent. The engineer's hands are shaking as he stops the tape. Priscilla is crying in the corner, trying to hide it. James Burton has his head down, pretending to adjust his guitar strap. Elvis lifts Lisa Marie up and holds her tight. She wraps her arms around his neck, still clutching her rabbit. "Did I do good, Daddy?" she asks. "You did perfect, baby." Elvis whispers into her hair. "You did perfect." But here's what nobody in that room knows yet. Elvis will never release that recording. Not commercially. Not ever. Why would a man work so hard to capture a moment, then lock it away forever? The tape goes into a vault at Graceland. Elvis labels it himself in his own handwriting. Lisa Marie, February 9, 1973, private. For months, nobody talks about it. The band knows not to mention it. Priscilla doesn't ask. Even Colonel Parker, who somehow finds out about the session, doesn't push Elvis to release it. There's an understanding. This one is sacred. But Elvis listens to it constantly. Late at night, alone in the jungle room at Graceland, he'll put the tape on, pour himself a drink, sit in the dark and let his daughter's 4-year-old voice fill the space. Sometimes he cries. Sometimes he just closes his eyes and smiles. Jerry Schilling, one of Elvis's closest friends, is there one night when it happens. I walked in and saw him sitting there with the tape player on, Jerry recalls years later. I started to leave, but he waved me over, made me sit down and listen. When it finished, he looked at me and said, "That's the best thing I ever recorded, Jerry. And nobody's ever gonna hear it." Jerry asks why. Elvis is quiet for a long time. Then he says, "Because it's not for them. It's for me. It's for her. Some things aren't meant to be sold. Some things are just meant to be loved." He rewinds the tape, plays it again. "She won't remember this," Elvis continues. "She's too young. But I will. And when she's older, I'll give her this tape and she'll know. She'll know her daddy saw her. Really saw her. Not as Elvis's daughter. Just as Lisa Marie." Jerry nods. He doesn't argue. He understands. But there's a heaviness in the room that night. A sadness neither man can name. Because Elvis is talking about the future like he'll be there to give Lisa Marie that tape himself. Like there's all the time in the world. And there isn't. For years pass. Elvis's health declines. The performances become more erratic. The prescriptions pile up. The weight fluctuates wildly. He's exhausted, depressed, trapped in a cycle of tours and contracts he can't escape. Lisa Marie visits Graceland regularly, but the visits become complicated. Elvis is often asleep, or unwell, or surrounded by handlers and doctors who keep her at a distance. She's 8 now, old enough to sense that something is wrong with her father, old enough to feel the weight of his sadness even when he smiles. One afternoon in June 1977, Lisa Marie is playing near the music room when she hears a familiar sound. Her own voice. She walks closer. The door is cracked open. Inside, Elvis is sitting alone with the tape player, listening. His head is down. His shoulders are shaking. Lisa Marie pushes the door open. "Daddy!" Elvis looks up, startled. His face is wet. He wipes his eyes quickly, embarrassed. "Hey, baby, I didn't know you were here. Is that me singing?" she asks. Elvis nods. "Yeah, from when you were little." "I don't remember." "I know." He pats the chair next to him. "Come here. Let's listen together." She climbs up next to him. They sit side by side in silence as the tape plays. Her tiny 4-year-old voice tangled up with his, singing a song about time and love and moments that don't last. When it ends, Lisa Marie looks at her father. "Why do you sound sad, Daddy?" Elvis pulls her close. "I'm not sad, baby. I'm grateful." There's a difference, but she can feel it. The sadness that sits underneath the gratitude. The fear that he's running out of time to tell her everything he needs her to know. "Can we sing it again?" Lisa Marie asks. "Together? Right now?" Elvis's face breaks into a real smile for the first time in weeks. "Yeah, baby, we can do that." They sing it together live, no tape running. Just a father and daughter, making music in a quiet room. It's the last time they'll ever sing together. 2 months later, August 16th, 1977, Elvis is gone. After Elvis's death, Graceland becomes a museum, a shrine, a business. The vault with the private tapes is sealed. Most of them stay that way for decades. But Lisa Marie never forgets about that song. In 1997, 20 years after her father's death, she's given access to the vault. She's 29 now, a mother herself. She's spent years wrestling with her father's legacy, trying to separate the myth from the man. She finds the tape labeled Lisa Marie, February 9, 1973, private. She listens to it alone in a small room at Graceland. Headphones on, eyes closed. When her 4-year-old voice comes through the speakers, she breaks. She hears herself forgetting the words, making them up, giggling at one point, and underneath it all, her father's voice, patient, tender, present in a way she'd almost forgotten he could be. This is the father she lost. Not the superstar, not the icon, just the man who stopped a rehearsal because his daughter was singing in the hallway. Lisa Marie makes a decision that day. She'll never release the tape commercially. Ever. It stays private just like her father wanted. But she will tell the story. In interviews, in her memoir, in quiet conversations with her own children. She'll make sure people know that her father wasn't just the king of rock and roll. He was also a man who knew how to stop and listen when it mattered. That tape is the most precious thing I own, Lisa Marie says in a 2003 interview with Rolling Stone. It's proof that he loved me, not as his daughter, the celebrity kid, but as me, as Lisa Marie, the girl singing to her stuffed rabbit. The interviewer asks if she'll ever let anyone hear it. Lisa Marie smiles. No. That's between me and him. Some things are supposed to stay sacred. And she means it. The story spreads slowly over the years. Musicians hear about it. Producers, writers. The tale of Elvis stopping mid-rehearsal, recording a secret song with his 4-year-old daughter, then locking it away forever. It becomes legendary. Some people don't believe it. They say it's too perfect, too sentimental, a myth built to soften Elvis's harder edges. But the people who were there know the truth. James Burton confirms it in a 2005 interview. Glenn Hardin mentions it in his memoir. Jerry Schilling talks about the night Elvis played him the tape and cried. The evidence is real. The moment happened. And the reason the story resonates isn't because of the tape itself. It's because of what the tape represents. In a life lived almost entirely in public, Elvis carved out one private moment. One thing that belonged only to him and his daughter. One piece of himself that he refused to sell. In an industry built on exploitation, on squeezing every ounce of profit from every scrap of talent, Elvis said no. He said, "This one is mine." That's revolutionary. How many artists today would do the same? How many would stop a session, record something precious, and then never monetize it? Never leverage it for sympathy? Never use it to humanize their brand? Almost none. Because we've been trained to believe that everything must be shared. That privacy is selfish. That love isn't real unless it's performed for an audience. Elvis proved otherwise. He loved his daughter in that hallway. He loved her in that studio. And he loved her enough to keep that love off the market. What does it say about us that this feels so rare? February 9, 1973 wasn't just a recording session. It was a line in the sand. It was a father saying, "Not everything I am belongs to the world." It was an artist saying, "Not everything I create is for sale." And it was a man saying, "Some moments are more valuable than any amount of money or fame." Think about the pressure Elvis was under in 1973. The Colonel pushing him to tour constantly. RCA demanding new albums. The expectations of millions of fans who wanted more. Always more. And yet, in the middle of all that, Elvis stopped. He stopped and listened to his daughter. He stopped and built something beautiful just for her. He stopped and protected it from the machine that had consumed almost everything else in his life. That's not weakness. That's strength. It's easy to perform love, to post it, to make it content, to turn it into proof of your goodness. It's harder to love quietly, to love without applause, to love in ways that leave no public record except the memory in your heart and the echo in someone else's. Elvis chose the harder path, and that choice has outlived him. Lisa Marie carried that tape with her until her own death in January 2023. She never played it for the media, never used it to cash in on nostalgia. She kept her father's promise. And now the tape sits in a vault somewhere, still private, still sacred. Two voices, tangled together in a moment of pure, unperformed love. Nobody will ever hear it. And that's exactly how it should be. So here's the question. What are you protecting? What piece of yourself, what relationship, what moment, what creation are you keeping sacred? Or have you sold it all already? We live in an age of total exposure. We're encouraged to document everything, share everything, monetize everything, turn every private joy into public content. And in the process, we're losing something essential. We're losing the ability to experience love without an audience. We're losing the muscle that lets us create beauty just for the sake of beauty. We're losing the boundaries that protect what's most precious from being consumed by the noise. Elvis understood this, even as he lived under the brightest spotlight on earth. He knew that some things must remain hidden if they're going to stay holy. A father and daughter, singing together in a studio, building a memory that belongs to no one but them. That's what holiness looks like. Not a platinum record. Not a sold-out arena. Just two people making music that will never be heard. Because the music isn't the point. The connection is. What would it look like if you lived that way? If you stopped performing your love and just loved? If you stopped proving your worth and just created? If you stopped sharing everything and kept one thing, just one thing, entirely yours? Maybe it would feel like loss at first. Like you're missing out. Like you're not getting the credit you deserve. But maybe, in time, it would feel like freedom. The freedom to be human again. To be small again. To be private again. The freedom to love someone so much that you don't need the world to see it. That's what Elvis gave Lisa Marie. Not a hit song. Not a viral moment. Just a tape. A memory. Promise kept. And in the end, that's worth more than everything else combined. February 1973. A hallway at Graceland. A tiny voice, singing alone. Elvis stops, listens, records, protects, and in doing so, he shows us something we desperately need to remember. The most valuable things in life are the things we refuse to sell. Hold something sacred today. Just one thing. Keep it off the market. Keep it off the internet. Keep it between you and the people you love. That's where the real magic lies. In the silence. In the privacy. In the moments no one else will ever see. That's where you become legendary. Not to the world, but to the one person who matters most.